There's things you can change, and there's things you cannot change. And the separation of those two categories doesn't just naturally happen. I got notes down here. It's going to be a little off script. I just kind of wanted to talk about something I've been thinking about. I just wanted to make one of these, like, tying some stuff I'm going through mentally and life-wise into magic style videos. I made a few more on the channel like these. I haven't done it in a while. My brother was talking about how he liked those style of videos, and I've also been feeling like I needed to make one of those recently. So here we are. Some subjects we're going to get into. I want to talk about an overall decrease in positive emotions over the last few years. Some pretty drastic, traumatic things that have happened in my life. How we can tie that kind of into magic in a lesson that I'm learning right now. The difference between being unlucky and just being a victim of happenstance. Get into a couple of really cool discussions about the difference between the circle of influence and the circle of concern, which are a couple of things I'm learning about right now. One of which is something I definitely focus on more than the other, that's for sure. A bunch of stuff like that. So I guess we'll start with what has led to this whole change in my life recently. I have felt extraordinarily blessed in my life. Let me get that out of the way first off, because I don't want to come across as like a total arrogant, like, oh, my life sucks kind of guy. Because if you know me, I have a very blessed life. But I have felt very cursed in my life. And it's been a weird life to experience both of those at the same time, to be like, I am extremely blessed in where I've been raised and like the lot I was dealt. But I'm also but I also feel extremely unlucky. And I'll kind of get into why I feel that way. So like earlier years, elementary, middle school, we were flying, dude. We were top of the food chain. People loved us. We were part of all the cool kids groups, as cool as you could get in those grades. We were feeling good. High school came around, stopped really caring as much. Depression and anxiety became a pretty big deal for me. So I kind of turned to drinking pretty heavily. Drinking to this day was the fix-all for me. It was the thing that got rid of all my anxieties, all my depressions. It made me feel good. It made me talk to people. I actually was able to like mend some relationships with my friends through drinking and then initiating with them. If it weren't for some of the side effects, man, that's a miracle drug. But I started feeling like shit. I started getting really bad cramps under my rib cage. Ribs started hurting a lot. This was probably 7 or 8 years back. We went to Cleveland Clinic, which is like one of the top places to like find out what's wrong with somebody. They pretty much all said it was a combination of IBS, severe anxiety, and the fact that I had pretty extensive fatty liver. And if you don't know what fatty liver is, it is a thing you get from a terrible diet and drinking that will lead to fat infiltrating your liver. And then if you drink on top of having fatty liver, that fat tissue can get scars developed on them. And if you get any kind of scarring on your liver, that's cirrhosis. So if I drink, that instance of drinking literally could develop cirrhosis like in that instance. So that was the first step of the road to me feeling cursed, was I found drinking. It helped me immensely. I didn't act drunk. I wasn't belligerent. I know a lot of drunk people say that. You can ask anybody that I used to drink around. You couldn't really tell I was drunk. All it did, for all intents and purposes, was make me feel better. But now I was told, hey, you have this thing where you could literally develop something that would kill you if you drink. Every time you drink, you could have a chance of developing cirrhosis. Okay, yeah. So this thing that every other 20-something-year-old does to make them feel better, I'm specifically not allowed to do that anymore. Gotcha, cool. I was also smoking pretty heavily at the time, and they told me, hey, let's get your lungs tested. Got my lungs tested. Turns out you have asthma. You should really stop smoking or it could develop into COPD. Awesome. That's really good to hear. Appreciate that. So the last real thing that I was like able to do at that time that made me feel good was like, oh, I like eating. Eating makes me feel good. They went on to tell me that my triglycerides, my cholesterol, my blood pressure, everything that could be bad and detrimental was through the roof high. And I actually got told by a heart doctor, you're going to be dead by 30 if you keep drinking alcohol and if you keep eating the way you're eating. Okay. So in one trip, it was like, hey, you know all the stuff that makes you feel better? You specifically aren't able to do any of that at the age of 20. I think I went there at 23, 22. At the age of 22, 23, you're not able to do that. And let's not even get into a sex life, because there's no self-image, self-worth happening in here at all at any given point. So that's something We'll get into it. That's something that we will work on. We will get laid. No, I'm just kidding. The self-image thing is definitely something we'll talk about it that we can fix. But that also felt like a curse. Never really having any real girlfriends, never having like a relationship, going on very few dates, not really getting invited to parties. It was just a thing where the whole like the sexual relationship side of my life, I also felt, kind of cursed in that regard. So all that was really left at this point, with all of those things feeling like you got a dice roll of life that took all those things away from you, was like my person, which was my mom. And if you're familiar with the last 3 years of my life, wouldn't you guess it? Wouldn't you guess it by the cursed man himself? My mom passed away from a minor blood clot in her leg that they went to do work on that completely went wrong for some reason and gave her multiple other blood clots. Huh, okay. That happens all the time, right? Oh, no, it doesn't happen all the time. Gotcha. Yeah, it doesn't happen all the time. So you can see how I'm really trying to break out of this mindset of thinking you're cursed, you're unworthy of these things, positivity, love, happiness. If you express that you do love something or you are connected to something or something does help you, the world will take that thing away from you, is kind of where my brain was at. I had a distant dad. I live with my grandma, and that doesn't feel great at 27 years old. So there's just a lot of different things where I go, I feel pretty unlucky. You know what I mean? I feel like on a personal level, not like my family around me, because my family is awesome. Not the house that I'm in, because I'm super lucky I have food and a house. Not my quote-unquote job, because I'm super lucky I can make videos for you guys. I understand that I'm blessed, like I said at the beginning. But you have to understand after that list how someone could maybe feel cursed at the same time. It just led to a bunch of different things. Difficulty feeling recently. Difficulty feeling positive about most anything. Just a feeling of... Sorry if I'm getting off track. It's a lot of thoughts on this page I'm trying to get out. Feeling of being unlucky, I guess, is the thing I'm trying to get across. Never lucky, bro. That's what I wrote here. Never lucky, bro. Awesome. So let's tie this into magic, because we are going to tie this into magic a little bit, because that's kind of the point here. It's easy when you're playing a game of Magic and you draw into a 2-land hand that then doesn't give you any lands from that point on. Or draw into a 5-land hand that gives you nothing but lands from that point on. Or you have to mulligan down to a 2-card hand. It's easy when those things happen to think that you are unlucky. Kind of similarly, hey, it's a blessing I live in the world where I get to play Magic, the game that I love, but I also feel cursed right now because none of this stuff's working out. None of this stuff is working. You're getting mana flooded. You're getting mana screwed. You're getting mulligan down to nothing. The table's targeting you. You're not drawing into the synergy pieces you need. This can lead to you maybe thinking, hey, I wasted money. I wasted time. There's no point in running the deck. Similar to how I've been feeling the last 3 years, I've wasted time. I've wasted money. I've wasted effort because there's no reason to do any of this because I'm just cursed. There's no reason to play this game. My decks are just cursed. But this is where I want to talk about the difference between hopeless and helpless, because I didn't know there was a difference. I knew there was a difference because they were literally 2 different words, no doy, but I didn't really realize they, for all intents and purposes, meant different things. In my mind, I was like, yeah, you could use either one of those interchangeably. That guy's helpless, that guy's hopeless. It doesn't matter. No, very not true. What if I told you your situation was hopeless? And that's actually a good thing, okay? The feeling of being helpless is when you get mana fucked that game, okay? That's something that you cannot control. It's completely outside of your control. You can't control how many lands you're getting. You know what? Technically you can. If you run no lands in your deck, you'll draw none. And if you run nothing but lands in your deck, you'll draw nothing but lands. But that's a whole different other topic. You can't min-max life. You can't focus one thing and then nothing else. It doesn't work. Some of these situations that we're going through, whether it be life or Magic, are helpless situations. And some of them are hopeless situations, and I don't think we're realizing the difference. If you're getting completely mana fucked, mana screwed, and you're running the appropriate 38 lands, that's a helpless situation. There's nothing you could have done about that. There's no reason to go take apart your deck. There's no reason to be driving yourself crazy, pulling out your hair, thinking, why didn't this deck function the way that I know it can? It was a helpless situation. You can't focus on it that much, man. But like I just said, if you know your deck can run, you know you have played it before and it does the thing a lot of the time, just sometimes it doesn't, then it's even more important to realize what's helpless and what's hopeless, because you don't want to completely screw your deck into working none of the time, when before it was working 70% of the time, you were just focused on the 30% of the helpless time where you were getting mana fucked. Who cares? You can't control it. But when your deck's doing pretty all right, but you're sitting at one card in your hand for most of the game, or your deck's doing pretty okay, but you haven't been able to play any additional lands on your turn and you're just sitting there with a normal mana curve of lands, those are situations that are hopeless, okay? And let me explain to you what that means, because you might think, what the hell are you talking about, Nick? Those situations are hopeless. That's the same thing as helpless. It's not. Helpless is a literal translation of something. If something is helpless, it cannot be helped. If something is hopeless, that is the mental interpretation of the individual who thinks it is hopeless. It's just a feeling. It's not reality. So what is hopeless and what is helpless? I feel hopeless about my weight because I love cereal so much. What do we do about it? Make some diet changes. We can still eat cereal. Don't eat as fucking much of it. I don't think you need 4 bowls of it in a day, buddy. Make some changes. Lose a little weight. As far as fatty liver is concerned, sorry, buddy, you cannot drink. That is not RAM in your brain that needs to be taken up all the time. Because constantly, I think it's not fair that I can't drink. I'm 27 years old. I can't go out to bars with my friends. I can't, because to be fair, I was a bit of an alcoholic when I drank. I drank quite a bit. So I'm not comfortable going out to bars. Whenever we're going out to parties with each other, or whenever we're hanging out just as friends, everyone's drinking all the time. It helped me so much that it's not fair that I'm not able to do it anymore. That's RAM. That's not useful. I got mana fucked that game. I keep having to mulligan down to 2. Even though I'm running 38 lands. I have a 2-card combo in this deck, but only drew into one of the pieces of that combo. It's RAM, it's mental capacity that doesn't need taken up by those thoughts. This actually segues perfectly into an article that I read talking about Stephen Covey, not sure, and his thoughts on circle of concern versus the circle of influence, which I thought was super interesting, and it actually was right up the alley of the script I was already working on. So he goes on to say this: the circle of concern is our thoughts that we have that we cannot fix or control. I'm too short. I hate my family. It's not fair that I have so-and-so disease. It's not fair that I have fatty liver. There's nothing we can do about it. Our circle of influence is the thoughts that we have that we can control and we can fix. I'm smoking too much. Don't smoke as much. I'm gaining weight. Stop eating as much and exercise. I should dye my hair. I'm sure people are going to love it. Dye your hair. They're not going to love it. Stephen goes on to say and show some pretty wild conclusions that his studies came to. The people who focused on their circle of concern, so the things they could not change, were labeled as proactive individuals or people that planned for potential issues that were outside of their control to begin with. Global warming, the government, their height. Yeah, we're going to say that again for no particular reason. What's even more interesting is these people were found to have a circle of focus that increased in size over time, meaning they found more and more things to be concerned about, making every part of their mental state worried about more and more future potential issues that they could not control, leading to more stress, less positive emotions, less enjoyable life experiences, all that. On the other side of that coin, people who were focused on their circle of influence were labeled as reactive people. Since these people's minds focused on problems they could actually change, they in turn changed most of those things, leading to more confidence, less anxiety, and a happier life. The coolest part of this was these reactive people had a circle that progressively got smaller and smaller and smaller over time. So the amount of things, even the things in the moment that they could change that they were worried about, became smaller and smaller because they developed confidence, because they were able to take over those things from the past. So now what they do is they let their body do its thing. Their brain isn't thinking, yeah, this might happen in the next few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and prepare for that. Or like, oh, okay, this is happening right now. What do we do? They just let their body go on autopilot. They've done it enough times that they've succeeded. They've been the reactive person. They've been the person that focuses on their circle of influence. And now they've developed confidence and they can just keep knocking this stuff out of the park on autopilot, leading to like a little infinite combo of confidence here. Let's put it like like this. If you dwell on the fact that your decks aren't working when you draw too many lands, not enough lands, or don't draw into that perfect interaction, or you had to mulligan, or some other reason that's really outside of your control, you're having a circle of concern view on your deck building. You may have been here for years, with a circle that just kept getting bigger and bigger, and now everything you see when it comes to Magic, Commander, playing the game, seems stressful and unfixable. It seems like a mess. Is it even worthy of me playing this game? Been there. Give yourself a break in a few minutes after this video to reframe, all right? Because that's really what this all is. That's what anything is. Me and my brother just talked about this. Most mental health, the eras we go through and problem solvings and conclusions and changes and growth that we go through is really just reminding yourself of something that you already knew was true, that just life and all these waters getting muddied kind of led to you forgetting over the course of time. So have that moment right now. Remind yourself why you started playing this game. Focus your circle on things you can influence and make changes for the things you can. Circling back to the beginning, my fatty liver, losing my mom, people in my family getting on my nerves, those are things I cannot control. The weight, the smoking, the eating, giving into every vice nonstop, those are all things that I 100% can control. Now, what's the point of all this, Nick? Why are you talking about all this? These are all like kind of cool thoughts that are going a bunch of different ways, but like, what is this? What is this? Here we go. I think this is where it becomes confusing over the years. The past 3 to 4 years, for me, have been a tragedy of mislabeling. I was putting all my problems into the concern circle, even if they were something I could fix. I was labeling every problem I had as a curse. So at the end of the day, I truly didn't believe that I could change anything. So what was the point? So now, sitting here, it seems super obvious. There's things you can change, and there's things you cannot change. And the separation of those two categories doesn't just naturally happen. You have to sit down with yourself and separate those things into their appropriate categories. Because if you don't, the waters will get muddied, you will lose interest, desire, you will lose any positive emotion towards something, whether that be life or a card game, and your circle will become bigger and bigger and muddier and muddier. Like I end all these videos where I try to get introspective, I hope that made any sense. Think of this as more of like a therapy session with me, and yeah, comment whatever you want down below. See you guys.